pretty much every time. Hey guys, welcome tonight to another episode. We're calling this episode Be Prepared. We're going to give you a few moments to log on. We're going to give, hit that like button, share this on your page. We also want to remind you that we do have a YouTube channel, Straight Up Guide Talk. So we will be putting the link on our page, so you can just click on it, and if you would, just hit subscribe for us. That would help us out tremendously. So just a few more minutes, and then we're going to get rolling. We got a really, really neat guy here with us. You can see that we've kind of turned into a three-man show every week, which I kind of like because you get to hear a little bit less of me talking. And I know my wife is kind of clapping in the background right now, just kind of going, So, but
quiet you down a little bit.
That's right, quiet me down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I do got my coffee, so it's gonna be a good one tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Jeremiah's going to give us some ideas. And so we got about, a minute?
Yep, about a minute.
And we'll jump on and get started. Give you guys time to jump on.
Yep, Dale's on the laptop, so if you would, when you get here, just say hello, say hi, hashtag Straight Up Guide Talk, do something in the comments just that we know you're here, so that we can have our conversation with you tonight.
All right. I know we got about 5 people,
Yep.
and just say hello. Let us know who's watching with us.
Yeah, let us know who we're talking with tonight.
And appreciate you guys jumping on.
Again, hit that share button, guys. Share it on your page. Do a watch party. Do something. Let's involve more people tonight. This is going to be a really, really fun one about being prepared. You saw that on the title as we started the video. So, man, I'm excited about it because I talk about being prepared all the time, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. Now we got somebody who knows what they're talking about. So
maybe a little bit.
A little bit. Hey, if it's more than me and it's more than Dale, it's just enough.
There you go.
So who do we got? Come on, 5 people. We know you're watching. We can see you. We just don't know who you are.
Anyway, give another, 15 seconds.
15 seconds.
Yeah, and we'll get started. And people will jump in.
All right, 15 seconds. Oh, 6. See, look at that. We're already growing.
See?
You ready to roll?
Let's roll it.
Let's roll it. All right. As always, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Dale.
I'm Jeremiah.
And you're watching
Straight Up Guide Talk.
Hey, tonight we got a really fun show. We've said it a million times. We have Jeremiah here from, is it the Neal's Homestead?
Yeah,
The Neal's Homestead, or just Neal's?
The Neal's Homestead.
The Neal's Homestead on YouTube. They have a really great channel full of just a ton of information, a ton of homesteading, being prepared, being self-sufficient. Is that kind of a good way?
We do a lot of different things.
Describe your channel to us a little bit.
So we have a homestead. We have, cows and chickens. We raise a lot of our own food. We also do fun things like going camping, fun things with the family. We talk about a lot of different topics, including being prepared and the various skills you need for that, homesteading type skills like canning food, drying stuff, what to grow and how to grow it.
Okay, very cool. Very cool. We got any hellos yet up
we
over
got
there?
a few shout outs.
Who do
What's
we
up,
got?
Christina?
My honey's watching?
She's watching. And Mr. Stephen Garver. Man, appreciate you.
Hey, Steven.
being here.
How's it going, buddy?
Mr. Chad Shippey. What's up, buddy?
Chad Shippey from Shippey Electric.
Blake, what's up, my man? Appreciate you jumping on.
Who is it?
Blake.
Blake.
From Integrity Roofing.
Oh, very cool. Hey, Blake. How's it going?
Yep. He's a great friend and supporter of JCCA, and we appreciate it.
Very cool.
Fred, my man from Ohio, my elementary
Fred, we
friend.
said Fred was going to jump on, and Fred jumped on.
We knew Fred would jump on. He's
That's
always
right.
going to chime in. So, we appreciate you guys jumping in with this, and for some reason it's not even showing up on here, so I'll just watch my phone.
That's okay. You watch your phone, we'll get it rolling.
Go watch the phone.
Yep, watch the phone. Hold the phone. Hold the phone.
Hold the phone.
Hold
But yeah,
the
this
phone.
is, and please do that. Jump on YouTube and check out Neal's Homestead. Jump on ours. We're starting to put more stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
It means a lot to us, and we're starting to get people really interested in what we're doing, and this is like no stress. I say it all the
It's
time.
so
You
fun.
think it would
It's
be
so
like
fun.
but it's not. It's just a lot of fun. So,
but here's a cool
having
thing.
A conversation.
Just having a conversation. Little plug for our channel. If we hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, we can go live not only on Facebook but on YouTube at the same time, so we can have so much more conversation with so many different people. So seriously, go check it out. Go hit subscribe. the notification bell, and also head over to the homestead, the Neil's Homestead, and also hit that subscribe button, guys. You don't want to miss what they put out every week. So very cool.
My mom's
Excited to be
watching.
here.
What's up, Mama?
Oh, Mama's watching.
I got to shout out to Mom. I mean, come on.
She kind of gave birth to you.
Yeah, we're gonna, and this isn't, we want to stress. I think we're all in the same. This isn't, zombie stuff.
No.
Right? We're not talking, and maybe a little bit. No,
we're not talking
common sense.
What did you sent me earlier? End of the world as we know it. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. He sent me this big old long different letters. I'm like, okay, I don't know this. How am I going to figure this out? And then I figured it out. And it was end of the world as we know it. We're not talking like
Yeah, we're not
zombies.
talking about
right. But just common sense stuff. We just had a huge, terrible stretch of winter, right? We're all frozen in.
Right.
And there were a lot of people that were concerned because how do I get milk? How do I get food? How do I get water? So let's kind of maybe start with that. And if you have a different direction you want to go, Jeremiah, just kind of take us that way, and we'll plug in with some questions and we'll look for comments.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your history? What brought you to a lifestyle of just being prepared, a lifestyle of self-sufficiency?
I think a lot of things, really. I grew up kind of in the country, always enjoyed outdoors and enjoyed, camping and Royal Rangers, which is kind of like Boy Scouts. Did a lot of that stuff. I grew up also, my dad lived through a good share of the Great Depression, World War II.
Okay.
So I think I came by it honest on a lot of that. People that came out of that generation think about the world differently.
Sure.
They always know that, the institutions we rely on may not always be there. Ought to put a little bit back.
Very cool. So what about, you hear the word prepping, prepared. What aspect of prepping, or what does it mean to you when someone says they're prepping or they want to learn how to prep?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's been a little bit of a stereotype from long ago about, the crazy lone survivor out in the wilderness kind of thing, but it's become much more mainstream. A lot of people are prepping now. Probably way more people than you know about, because most people don't talk about it as a rule.
Okay.
It's kind of like Fight Club.
I was going to say, it's kind of like Fight Club.
Club.
You don't talk about Fight Club. You don't tell others what you got in your pantry. Very cool. Very cool. Well, you got some notes. It's always good to be prepared. Like you said, even with notes. So like you said, just kind of walk us through, man. Walk what we're talking about tonight, being prepared.
Well, I think this last storm down in Texas, we saw what happened there. A lot of people were hurting, and over this last year, I think there became a lot of new preppers. A lot of people saw what happened. There's a lot more toilet paper in pantries, I bet you right now.
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there is.
Which is odd to me. Like, that's the first thing people wanted to hoard.
Yeah.
Is
Right,
toilet
toilet
paper.
paper.
There's other. And it's not that's not important, but I can find.
It's
there's
definitely
other ways.
important,
There's alternatives.
There's alternatives to
That's
that.
the word.
Yeah.
So,
Life existed before toilet paper,
Right.
believe it or not.
right.
What's up, Joe?
Hey, Joe.
Joe Hubbard?
Mm-hmm.
How's it going, Joe? I told you, that's another one we talked about. We were kind of talking about which one of our normal, everyday people would log on tonight and make some comments. So, Joe, you were one of them. So
Yeah, that means a lot. We
it
appreciate
really
that, guys.
does. It really does, that support. So
So where's the starting point?
yeah, where do you start,
Just for
man?
somebody says, man, I'd like to get better prepared.
right.
Where would you tell them to start?
Well, I think it kind of comes in 3 different parts of your life. We often focus on the physical,
Okay.
but there's also the mental aspect and there's a spiritual aspect to prepping. And I think they're all important, because if you focus too much on any one of them, you get out of balance. That's one of the important lessons that I've learned through making my own mistakes and watching other people make mistakes is balance.
Okay.
Don't get out of balance too far in any one of these areas.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Very cool.
And yeah. So one thing that often comes up is prepping like moral? Because preppers are often associated with hoarders.
Okay.
But I think there's an important distinction. Preppers before something happens. Like right now, you can go to the grocery store and get all the food you want. While there's an abundance, preppers
Okay.
go and put it back.
That makes sense.
Now, a hoarder would be let's say a big storm comes in, the grocery store isn't getting delivery, and somebody goes in and buys up all the groceries. That would be hoarding.
Sure. Be
So,
greed at that
right.
point. Yeah.
Taking more than your fair share during an emergency would
Okay.
be immoral.
That makes sense.
Taking it beforehand, though, it actually makes it so you don't need to go in and take supplies from other people at
Okay.
all. You have your own stuff already.
Right.
So it works better for everyone.
Sure would have saved a lot of Walmart trips when everyone's, milk's gone and toilet paper's gone and, you got to go to Walmart and you're like, so there's nothing on the shelf.
Well, there's some stuff on like Marketplace and stuff.
Yep. People are making money on this
come
stuff, man.
Yeah.
People are making that money. So,
Yeah, I couldn't hardly believe it with this last Texas storm. One day after, I was hearing stories about 2-hour waits and freezing temperatures to get in the grocery store.
Yeah.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people in a line to get in there, and
I saw
it
some
just kind of
pictures of
blew my
that.
mind.
Yeah.
You didn't have 3 days worth of food in the house,
It didn't look like
But
United
there's a lot of
States
people
of
that don't.
America, though.
Yeah.
But we kind of live on that, want it our way when we want it, and we don't want to prepare for it. Same thing with eating. I have learned recently that if it's already in the fridge and it's already ready to go, I'll eat it. If I got to make it, I'll find something that's not good for me. Here's some cookies. Here's a bowl of cereal.
Bag of
Like,
chips.
I want it now. Like, I don't want to wait 20 minutes for dinner to be made. I just want it now. And so, but like you said, if you prep, then it's
I
a
think,
better meal, first off.
Too is, and you mentioned, the generation that came out of the Depression. We're so spoiled. Like,
Oh,
you can
man.
stop at every corner
Oh, sure.
and get whatever you want at the last minute or
Yeah.
run through a drive-through line. And it's like, why do I need to stock up in the pantry? I'll just jump in my car and run around the corner
That's right.
Right.
until it's not there.
It's great until it doesn't work.
Until
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
Yeah, one of my favorite verses is Proverbs 27:12. It says, "The prudent sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty." And
That's
Yeah.
good.
that's
That's
kind of
really
a
good.
inspiring verse for me. I remember that one.
That's very cool. Very cool. Well, give us some practical ways, man. I'm a
Yeah.
city boy who knows nothing about homesteading or, if I was to say, you were to say, hey, go out in the woods and live for 3 days, I'd probably be pretty skinny on the way home. I
Might live, but you wouldn't be happy.
I might live, but I would not be happy doing it. So walk us through some stuff, man.
Well, I think a lot of it's just pretty practical. You could start at food.
Okay.
We all need food to live. I like to eat at least 3 times a day. I think most people do. If I don't eat, I get kind of grumpy. So
Crabby.
it doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need to be going out and buying, expensive Mountain House foods or anything. One of my favorite things to do is just when you go buy groceries, if you're buying 2 cans of soup, buy 4, Just
Okay.
grab some soup. Soup is like ready to go. It's nice to heat it up, but you can eat this without heating it. It doesn't
Right.
really need any preparation.
That's true.
And, other things like got Spam here, everybody's favorite. Favorite to hate.
I grew up
maybe.
on Spam.
Yeah,
A lot
we
of
actually
people
kind
do.
of like it.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So, just as kind of a rule of thumb, in my opinion, I kind of think everybody ought to have a minimum of like 2 weeks of basic food in the house. I think that's a minimum goal. Just if you don't have 2 weeks, figure out how to get it. And one thing about prepping, it doesn't have to be expensive. Like, this is not expensive stuff, and you may even find that you save money by prepping because you're
Okay.
buying stuff beforehand. You're not impulse buying.
sure. People aren't hiking up the price.
Right, and you're
Yeah.
you're often eating healthier because you're thinking about what you're going to eat instead of grabbing that
Grabbing
cereal.
something quick.
Plus stuff like this. Like, this is August of 2022. So like you can grab stuff like this, put it on the shelf, and you don't have to worry about throwing it out
For a
later.
year,
It's
yeah.
going bad.
Yeah.
So.
And in reality, it keeps way beyond that.
It
it's
does, yeah.
almost no lifespan on it.
So you talked about the Great Depression. You talked about all those things. My grandpa, he'd walk downstairs and he would have canned goods that are just all the way to ceiling, floor to ceiling, and some of them would be pretty old. And we're like, Grandpa, you can't do that, He's like, sure you can. These things outlast these dates. These dates
fine.
don't mean nothing,
Yep.
So
Well, I know, like we grew up, I think we didn't call it prepping. My mom and dad, my dad grew up in Kentucky, and then moved into Cincinnati. My mom grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania, and we had a huge garden, and they canned everything, and it lasted for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
That was just every summer. We just knew that's what we were going to do.
Right.
And I think a lot of people have gone away from it. I think a lot of people like to learn how to do that,
Yep.
but they need somebody to teach them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think now we view it as something a little bit perhaps even strange or something that we don't normally do, but prepping has been the way of life throughout history.
Yeah.
All of your ancestors prepped. They didn't call it that. Otherwise, they would have died and they wouldn't have had children because they would have starved to death in the winter.
You kind of said it earlier about, preppers almost get a bad name because, like the show Doomsday Preppers, they're the people who are like way out there, like, zombies are coming. We're going to build a castle out in the middle of nowhere. We spent $4 million on all these things. We spent all our life savings on it. And then they get to the end and they're like, you can survive 5 weeks. And I'm like,
and that's a great point. We got to separate the reality TV nonsense because that's
from
all
real
filmed
people.
and they got cameramen everywhere. And
Yeah.
they probably live in
And
a
they kind of
house
twist
and,
things a little bit too, I think.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
not everyday
Right.
stuff, but that's what everybody sees.
Right.
And you're right. It seems odd. So basic food, like saying the soups and Spam, and if my question I mentioned to you and Jonathan too is, not everybody has 50 acres. So don't think that we're talking about, you got to get out in the country and you have
Right.
to own 50 acres.
Right.
You're in a subdivision. I'm in a subdivision,
I'm
quarter
in-
acre
yep,
lot.
mine
So people that live like that, what can they do on their own, even being in a subdivision in the city, to
Urban
get
areas. Yeah.
ready?
Yeah, so you need some basic things to survive. You need food, water, you need air, shelter, you need security, and medical.
Okay.
Those are your basic prepping categories. We talked about food a little bit. One other thing is pick stuff that'll last, but pick stuff that you will eat. That's one big mistake a lot of preppers make is they buy, let's say beans. They buy a bunch of beans and they never eat beans.
Right.
But they've got buckets full of beans.
Because
they
it
don't
lasts
know-
long.
Right.
Lasts-
They don't know
yeah.
how to fix it. They don't like to eat them. Nobody in their family likes to eat them. Pick stuff you'll eat.
Okay. So like peanut butter, I've always heard like, man, a big jar of peanut butter will last you forever, But my kids hate peanut butter. My wife hates peanut butter.
So,
I would do
yeah.
it if I had to.
I could
but
live on peanut
if
butter.
I ate too much peanut
I
butter,
love
I'd
it.
swell up in my throat. So like,
Right.
Yeah.
you're right. Pick things
So-
I should eat versus, worst
Fred,
case.
I'm going to jump on here with some comments.
Some comments?
This is a great point, Fred. Fred says, my wife is originally from Nicaragua. She's lived through the bad times already. She sees the writing on the wall for what's coming. And the second thing he wrote was aquaponics. So
Okay.
you want to speak a little? Have you gotten into that yet?
We have never really done aquaponics. We have greenhouses and stuff.
Let's define that.
We wanted to.
I have the gist of what that is, but let's define that for people.
So it's basically a closed loop system where you grow your plants in water, so you pump the water up to the top, filter it through the plants, which take the nutrients out, run it into a tank with fish in it, which also process the nutrients and produce nutrients to feed the plants.
Okay.
So it cycles it that
Okay.
way. It is a little bit energy intensive because you got to have pumps running stuff.
Okay.
It can produce a lot of food in a small space. It is tied to some power needs, and
Okay.
sometimes you have to heat the water and stuff too. So it can be great. It's not a be all end all perhaps.
Okay.
So it's
Got
got
it.
limitations, but
Very
it can
cool.
be great.
Good stuff. Yeah, that was a good. And again, that backing up to his first point was, people that have maybe come from other countries that have experienced the lack of food, the lack of water, the lack of shelter. A message from Tiffany. So again, we're spoiled. We're the generation that saw it. My grandma wouldn't talk about the Depression.
Right.
They've, my mom grew up understanding, and my dad too.
Right.
But those people are, they're dying off. And
You're right. I feel like there's people out there who, they're not living in America, and they're like, you call it prepping, we call it Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
like,
my wife grew up in the Philippines,
right?
And they were poor, and life was not easy. So a lot of these skills and stuff, she grew up with them.
Okay.
You know, they didn't have electricity a lot of the time. They didn't have water. They'd have to walk down the street and pump it in a bucket and carry it back. And yeah, that was Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday morning. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are spoiled, man.
We're just spoiled.
We're super spoiled.
And you know, you hate to even think if something major happened, what would happen to society? They would.
You think because we're so spoiled that because we're not preparing before something happens, that if the time comes, it will just, fall apart?
That's one thing I worry about is not that we couldn't as a nation or a community survive, but that we might not because we're so divided and we're so out for just ourselves. We don't have the skills to do even the basic things. Like the power went off in Texas and everybody just kind of broke down and didn't know what to do. They didn't have basics of how to keep warm even.
Right.
They let their houses freeze and the water pipes burst. And that's, I've got some stuff later on
sure,
shelter.
yeah.
So, shelter, that would have to do with like your home or your clothes can also be your shelter.
Okay.
Your car, tent, whatever else you need for a shelter. So, the power goes off in the winter. That's one thing we just saw. What can you do? Well, you can have backup power.
Okay.
But that's not always practical for everybody. And even that runs out eventually, if we're talking about a little bit longer scenario. So one thing you can do is to know you should always know where your electrical cutoff, your water cutoff, and your gas cutoff is in your house. And if the water goes off and the pipes are going to freeze, you might be able to turn your water off, take it loose, empty most of the water out, have some antifreeze to pour in your drains, and keep your pipes from bursting.
Okay, I've never heard antifreeze in your drains.
Great. Well, that's how they do campers and stuff, right?
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm city boy all the way, man. Like this is, I love that we're talking about like beginning of being prepared, not this extreme of preppers, because I didn't know that. No idea that you put antifreeze in your drains and drain the water out. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It makes sense. I just would have never thought about that.
Yeah, and you could have prevented thousands of dollars worth of damage when
Wow.
your pipes burst and water ran all through your house and ruined everything.
I feel like there's people online going, did not know that.
I didn't know
My
that.
pipes burst this last winter. I should have done that.
Campers and concession trailers. You got to prep it for the winter because it's going to be. And we do this. You do the same thing. You drain it, get all the water out,
Right.
and you fill it up. Antifreeze.
All right, well, keep going. There's some good information.
Yeah,
Keep going.
a little bit of backup heat if you can, like your electric's out. You don't want to bring a big mistake a lot of people make is they bring some source of combustion that's producing carbon monoxide or too much carbon dioxide into the house.
Like
and they end up,
what? Give us an example.
like
Remember,
barbecue grill. People brought barbecue grills into their house to keep warm with and killed their family because it produced carbon monoxide in their house. Or people burned their houses down trying to start fires that they weren't, properly prepared for.
Okay.
All of those things happen every time there's a major power outage.
Right.
So
because we're not
ahead-
prepared, we're making bad mistakes.
Right.
Okay.
And a big part of preparedness is planning, thinking before anything happens. Well, what if the power goes off? Because probably wherever you are, the power is going to go off sometime.
Sure.
So it pays to think about it beforehand. What will I do? Where is my water cutoff? What can I use for heat? And then if you do have a small amount of heat, instead of trying to heat your whole house, a good strategy is to wall off one room or one portion of one room, hang blankets from the ceiling, and just heat a small space that's extra insulated.
Hang blankets from the ceiling. Good to know.
Or if you have that tent that I mentioned earlier, you can pitch a tent in your living room, and you can sleep in that tent, and then you have basically double insulated from your house and then the tent. It makes it several degrees warmer.
Common sense stuff, but we don't think about that in this nation.
Well, and it's really maybe because my furnace went out.
Sure.
Right as this cold front came in, and I'm like, and it was they got out there quickly, but it took 4 days for the part to come in because my furnace is 23 years old.
Yep.
And I'm like, luckily we still had our electric and we had gas fireplace, but So what if the electric would have gone out with it? You know, we ran electric heaters, and I don't know what my electric bill is going to be, but
Well, what
I
happens
think
if your
about it.
gas went out and your electricity went out and you're like,
You know.
what do you do?
What do you do? For
You know,
sure.
how do you survive until they can fix it?
Kerosene heaters is one
Yeah.
alternative.
Okay.
Yep.
I grew up with those too. My dad would set one in the middle of the living room.
You sound pretty old, man.
Huh?
What? Huh? What? Huh? What?
I am
Yeah, I
pretty
think
old.
my dad didn't get electricity till 1948,
Wow.
and they lived over here by Centerview.
Really?
A couple miles away.
That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Isn't that something?
Wow.
What else you got for us, man?
Yeah, keep on talking. This is about you telling us. So,
So one thing to look at is look at what's most likely to happen to you. So you look at your area. So here in Missouri, we're not likely to get a hurricane, for example. But if I lived in Florida, I would
correct?
think, okay, hurricanes come every year
Right.
or two. I might ought to prepare for a hurricane and have, plywood on hand and, food
Right.
and water. You should have a couple weeks worth of water in your house. Now, water's a little tougher to store, so you should also have a way to think ahead of time. Where can I find water around me? Is there a creek? Is there a pond? What's in that water? And what do I need to purify it? So
Okay.
that can be, in some cases, as simple as dipping out of the local spring, and it's fine,
Right.
all the way to filtering it through multiple stages.
Okay.
I've got one of these little
I'm gonna zoom in on you. There you go.
like Sawyer mini filters.
Uh huh.
These go in backpacks, or it says it will filter up to 100,000 gallons. You can also get larger standing units. I think these are like 20 or 25 bucks, so they're not too expensive for
Okay.
a lot of water insurance. Yeah, and then don't forget that you also need some water for things like washing dishes, which you can cut down on too by having throwaway dishes, paper plates.
Right. Right. We had a comment
plastic.
about a buck stove. Is that what he said?
Yeah, I was going to bring up a couple things. Chad said, rule of 3, you can live 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Fred said wood burner. And then Blake said a buck stove, best investment I ever made. Do you
What's a
know?
buck? You know what a buck stove is?
I don't.
Give us some more information, Blake. We're all interested.
Yeah.
brother.
This is. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd like to know. Shoot us a little comment on it if you would.
So we talked a little bit about water, a little bit about electricity. What's some other things?
So, air,
Okay.
one thing we don't think about often, but there are times where the air becomes unbreathable without filtration, such as when the 9/11 towers fell. There was all that dust in
Right.
the air, and there have been a lot of people who have died of exposure to chemicals that they breathed when those buildings fell.
Okay. Makes sense.
Other things such as all the ash in the fires last year,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
people, a mask.
Do you feel like people on the coast are more prepared than us people in the Midwest? I mean, just as far as like you said earlier, what's most likely to happen? Like, I know there's a lot of people that, bug out bags is not really a part of what we're talking about tonight, but I know a ton of people in different states on the coast that are like, we got bug out bags, we got one for everybody in the family. They have all this stuff already planned out, and I'm like, what do you got in your bag,
Yeah.
Teach me what I need to have in my bag. And so you feel like maybe they're a little more prepared because
I think
they
some
see
are,
it?
but I also see every time a hurricane comes through, all the people who are completely unprepared
Okay.
too. And part of being prepared is that you don't have to be out there with those people
Right.
whenever they're scrounging for food.
Do you feel like is there an age gap as far as like, your 18 to 25 is not prepared and your 26 is more prepared and your 50-year-olds are like, they're really prepared. You see any of that, do you think?
There probably is. As you get
Okay.
older and have kids, that
Well,
tends to
18,
make you prepare.
you're worried about getting a Taco Bell.
Right.
That's
You're
true, yeah.
invincible. at
That's
it.
true.
Yeah, you're invincible
That's
and
true.
you're not too worried
But Taco
about
Bell's open until 2 a.m. So
Yeah,
like,
right. So
I don't
Yeah.
have
Get
to,
your
I don't have
tacos
to eat
before
now,
Fred says if you live near an interstate or railroad, you could be affected by a chemical spill.
Yeah.
That's a good
Okay.
point. Almost like we call it prepping, right? Like it's just,
know.
but you know what? It's really, and I'm thinking back to when I was a kid. It's really just your way of life, right?
A lot of it's just common sense.
Yeah.
Like making sure you have a spare tire and the tools to change the tire if you get a flat.
Right.
And know how
And
to
it's
do
not
it.
Know how to do it.
You'd be shocked.
Yeah.
How many
Yeah.
don't know or don't? I mean, my girls know how to change a spare tire.
Right.
You know, change a flat tire.
Yeah.
So what else, man? Keep giving us some info. If you
So-
got any questions, keep asking questions, guys. We want to answer them.
Yeah,
You know,
great
a little bit of
comments.
stockpiling gives you some reaction time whenever something happens.
Okay.
It doesn't immediately become a huge emergency to you. It
Okay.
gives you some time to assess and figure out what you're going to do with that situation.
So you said 3 weeks worth of food. Was that right? At least 3 weeks? Minimum?
2 weeks minimum.
2 weeks minimum?
I would say most people could easily get 6 weeks without breaking a sweat if they
Without breaking the bank. And
Yeah.
Without.
if you do it over
you may-
time. You do it over time.
buy a little bit extra, and you may even save money, like I said, because you're
Okay.
buying more sensibly and not buying
Right.
the stuff. If I was going to go 6 weeks, I would throw more like rice and stuff in there.
Okay.
Stuff that's fairly cheap, bulk calories.
For a couple $100, really, you could go
Yeah.
out and be stocked up for 2 months.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
If
of
you,
If you do it
basics.
right.
Look
You
at
do it
all
right.
these, look at sales or whatever.
Okay.
Which
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
then you need a way to prepare that food, and you need to think about what can you do for that. And so I've got like a butane stove here. This is just a cheap way to do this. This is probably $25 or so, and then you can stock up on a bunch of butane fuel.
Okay.
And if you cook certain ways, you can use very little fuel. Just bring it to a boil and let it cook in an insulated pot. That's one way. Not everything has to boil for 3 hours.
Okay. What else, man? Keep giving it to us.
I'm going to go a couple comments real
Comments?
quick.
Okay, cool.
Blake explained, he said that what did he call it, buck stove?
Yeah.
It's a simple cast iron wood burning stove. It heats his 1,700 square foot home. Keeps it around, he says, 70s.
Wow.
Christina made a statement that she struggles to see common sense with some of my students today.
Right.
We
Right.
understand that.
Yep.
And Fred says you can buy 50 pounds of rolled oats at the feed store for $25.
Okay.
You know, so there you go. There's
Yep,
another.
that's a lot of food right there.
Yeah.
If you like oatmeal.
If you like oatmeal. Yeah. Well, you said earlier, like, get what you like, right? Get what you're going to eat. Like, for us, we'd have to somehow have macaroni, like, tons of
Tons of
macaroni.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
somehow cook it and,
And
you
the
know,
longer
get
it
the
goes
cheese
out,
in there.
the
and-
hungrier you get.
Yeah.
Oatmeal's
oh,
pretty
you'll eat,
good.
yeah, you'll eat what you want
Hunger
to eat.
does wonders to your appetite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But-
I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
That's-
just want to make sure I hit the
yeah,
comments.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, any more comments, guys, just keep them coming. We want to talk with you. So, very cool.
It also potentially allows you to help others, like your neighbors. You're not in need, so you're able to help.
That's good.
You know, I remember after Hurricane Katrina, we all watched all the stuff that unfolded with that. It was crazy, and
Sure.
most of the focus was on New Orleans, and you know the Superdome, and all these people that went there desperate. Help was trying to get in and couldn't. There wasn't enough help,
Right.
and things got pretty crazy. There was a lot of violence and bad stuff happened. Well, that hurricane also hit a lot of the rural areas just as hard or harder as New Orleans.
Okay, you didn't hear about that, though.
Right. And the neighbors all got out, cut the trees out of the way. Everybody got their chainsaws out, cleared the roads, cleared their houses, helped their neighbors, and went on about life. And
So, you're talking about community at that point.
yes, community is a big part of it too.
Okay.
And being able to, they were a little bit prepared, so they weren't worried about what am I going to eat tonight. And they were able to take care of
So, if
other
you're
things.
being
that were-
prepared is not just about yourself,
Right.
not just about your family, it's about others around you, too.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Blake gave the website, buckstove.com, and then Steve Garber said macaroni. So there's another one.
Yep.
Yeah,
Macaroni.
that's
My kids
macaroni.
love macaroni. They'll eat that stuff for 10 years, man.
Yeah,
10 years.
If you pack it properly, it'll last 50 years.
Wait, really?
Macaroni, not the cheese part of it.
Okay.
But just the basic noodles will last
Okay.
50 years. That can be a very long-term prep.
Well, my Logan would really appreciate the know-how because if it gets bad, he's going to want his macaroni. So
Mason told me yesterday he loves macaroni.
Yep, he does.
Macaroni and cheese.
they do. So
Yeah, another thing is security. And this is one that balance thing, I think, often plays in. Because a lot of times, especially us guys, whenever we hear, emergency and we see, like, let's say Katrina, we saw all the bad stuff happen. We think, I need to go out and I need to get 10 guns and 20,000 rounds of ammo.
yep.
And that's what I
We
need to be
just
prepared.
talked about
We talked about
this.
this.
Yep.
Yep. And we didn't even talk to him about it. We talked about this.
Yep.
And
Man.
I've seen it time and time again. They've got a lot of guns, which guns are great. You know, I think we should all, if you can legally, you should have a gun.
Sure.
It's a great, important tool.
That's what it
Safety is a big part of this.
Yeah.
In balance with other things.
Right.
A gun, no food, you've got a problem. It
Yeah.
should be balanced.
Eventually,
You know,
somebody else is
you
going
need
to have your
cover your
guns. 'Cause
bases.
you're not going to live long.
Absolutely.
Right.
So-
Or you're going to be tempted to,
Do something stupid with
yeah,
it.
Yeah,
sure,
you
to
need
go
to
out
find
and try to
food.
take from somebody else.
Good
And
point.
Sure.
where you should have balanced it. You should
Right.
have go sell a couple of the guns, go sell some of the ammo.
And
Buy some
realistically, none of us are going to.
Sure.
We've talked about this.
Yep.
None of us are going to get into where we're going to have to shoot off 3,000 rounds.
Right.
More than
If
likely.
you do, it's a
You're
bad
going to have maybe
day.
some people trying to get through your back door, and
Sure.
you need your shotgun or whatever you're comfortable with for self-defense to get them out of your house.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what you, like you said, that's what people think of. When you think prepper, you automatically go to, I don't care who you are, you go to, the guy's got 55 guns and 25,000 rounds of ammo.
Yeah.
You know, but they got food, they got ammo and guns, and that's it. That's what prepping is. That's
Yep.
the normal viewpoint of it. So,
Christina says, sounds familiar.
oh, come on.
Come
I'm
on.
like, I'm not even
Christina,
close to
you
that.
you need to elaborate on this
You're
a
gonna
little
have
bit.
to allow me some more money, honey, to go about 20,000 rounds. We're not even close to
Especially
that.
now.
Oh, especially now, $1 a round.
Oh, yeah, that's
$1
expensive.
bullet. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and on security, you know, hardening your home and your car, not making yourself an easy target.
Okay.
Look at your home and think, okay, if I was a thief, how am I going to try to break into this house? And there's a few things you can do to make it much less attractive, and they go on down the street.
Right.
They go to the easier target. Same way with your car, you know, don't leave your laptop sitting on the dash.
Right, especially in Warrensburg. Warrensburg Police Department tells you all the time
Yep.
that those jackwagons are going to come and take your stuff if you leave stuff in your car. So don't do it.
Yep.
Oh, I got to Blake, great point, man. Great point. How about basic field dressing knowledge for food survival?
Uh-huh.
Worst case scenario.
Sure.
You know?
Elaborate
great
on
point.
that. Get us into that a little bit.
Well, I mean, you know, and I'll stop, but I live up there not too far from James A. Reed. I mean, here in a week or two, crappie are going to be hitting like crazy. I mean, it's not hard to grab a pole and run up there and
But what if you didn't grow up fishing? What if no one ever showed you how to do it?
Well, there's lots of books, and there's this thing called YouTube.
YouTube? Yeah, I've heard of
You
that
heard about
place.
YouTube? And it's
I've heard
While
that
you
was-
have power and internet.
if you grab a pole and you throw a worm or something on it
Something will
in
bite.
spring, and you're going to get some crappies.
Yep.
You're going to catch some fish. Patience.
Yep.
You know.
Patience. I was thinking about earlier, I don't know if you're going to hit on it or not, talk about scripture, your scripture with this. I think about Joseph.
Yeah.
And I think about like ultimate prepper, other than Noah building an ark because something big's coming,
Yeah.
and because God said so. I think of Joseph, and Joseph, like God gave him a game plan, and he took care of an entire nation and other nations just by saying, "We're going to take this, we're going to hold this back. We're going to take this, we're going to use it." So like you said, being prepared for others is a big deal. I just can't think of all the things I've seen in Scripture that talk about preparing and talk about, being wise in your decision making and not making rash decisions. And if it wasn't for him preparing, he would have never seen his family again. Think of
Right.
that.
They all would have died out, and
All would
who
have died
knows
out.
what history would look like.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
I like that community and being prepared not only for yourself but for others. It's good.
And you're passing
Very
it
good.
down to your kids, which is what they used to do.
Right.
You know, I mean, this is
Right.
how you eat. This is how you hunt. This is how you fish.
Right.
Right.
And plus,
You and I talked about that, and we've talked about it a little bit. Like, again, I grew up in the city. I grew up playing sports, doing stuff, having fun, not hunting, not fishing, not, building fires, not any of that stuff. And so, like, since Logan is like 9 now, I've just had this desire, like, you need to start teaching him stuff that you were never taught. I'm like, why can't somebody teach me that stuff? I
Yeah.
can't teach it unless someone's showing me.
Some of it you learn as you go along, and
Yeah.
some of it, you got guys around you that's
Yeah.
fished and done that kind of stuff. And,
Yep.
Yeah, I've been trying to teach my kids that. Like, ever since they were little, we butchered chickens together and stuff. Just 3
Right.
weeks ago, I think we butchered 45 chickens in one day.
Wow.
In the snow.
Uphill both ways, right?
Yeah.
Well, Blake said, and this is to Jonathan, man. He said, "You better get yourself a good country friend."
Man, I believe it or not, for being a city boy, God has sent me to a lot of really good country guys that I know if it ever got really bad, I've got community that I'd be like, hey man, you got to show me how to do this. I don't know how to do it. and they would. So
That's awesome,
You're right. You
Blake.
got to get yourself a little country friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. Mary, what's up? You're late. Come
Mary,
on now,
you
Mary.
are late, Mary.
But you're here.
Where
I
are you,
appreciate
Mary?
it. That's my
Just
daughter.
because it's your birthday, happy birthday to you.
It is her birthday.
Happy
Sing it, Jonathan.
birthday to you. Come on. Happy birthday, dear Mary. Happy birthday to you. Is she 22?
Yes.
Yeah.
22. There you go.
There it is.
Yep. Thanks,
You're
Jonathan.
welcome, Mary.
You see, that's why he leads worship here.
That's right.
I preach, I don't sing.
That's right.
I let him sing because
Yeah. What
Very
else you
cool.
got for
What
us,
else you got,
buddy?
man? What else you got?
another aspect of this is medical.
Okay.
And you should put some stuff back because sometimes the medical system doesn't work.
True that.
You know, we looked at a possible collapse of the medical system with the COVID thing that went
yeah.
through. We were all wondering what's going to happen here, and it's not just about getting a disease. It's also what if you break your leg in the middle of the disease, or what if you get something that's
They wouldn't admit
treatable
you.
at home?
They wouldn't admit you
Yeah, or
because it's not COVID related.
They send you home.
Yeah.
All those surgeries.
or what
that
if
were
you
put
get a
off.
cut? You know, you could take
Super
care
glue.
of that at home.
Super glue.
Super glue. Learn how to stitch.
Or guys, if
Super
you're not
Super glue
married,
was my first choice, you know.
Yeah, if
I
you're
guess
not-
I should learn how to stitch.
if you're not married, guys, find a nurse. That's what I did.
Oh, I'm telling you.
That works.
telling you.
Wendy.
That's
I'm
right.
not that bad.
So,
So,
learn
we
to
keep
stitch,
some
okay?
basic medical supplies in cars and at home.
Okay.
We try to keep, enough basic medicines. Maybe a lot of people don't know this, but the medical supply side of things has gotten really stressed through all this. There are shortages on certain medicines.
Okay.
Because a
I
lot
didn't
of
know
them
that.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
manufactured in China. They've kept it kind of quiet, but
Okay.
so having, the basics and what you can get a hold of.
Okay.
So, another thing that people should have on hand, you guys know what this is?
That is a tourniquet.
Yes, tourniquet.
How do I use it? That's a tourniquet.
It's not very complicated. It
Right.
doesn't cost that much. I
Right.
bought 10 of them for about $5 a piece.
Okay.
If you have a major bleed, if you come up on a car crash,
Right.
cut yourself with a chainsaw, somebody gets shot or whatever, you can stop the bleeding in a limb.
Right. You're just cutting out the blood flow.
Right.
Right.
And-
That's a good point because if something happens, there will be guys out there that have never used a chainsaw, very limited knowledge on a
Yep.
chainsaw, and there's
Yep.
going to be accidents.
Yeah.
That's as an example. Or it could be they pick up a firearm and they don't have any experience with
Absolutely.
it. Practice. That just made me,
Right.
try to find time to practice.
Right.
and
My
know
dad
a
is
little
law enforcement or retired law enforcement, and just with some recent stuff that was going on, he was like, "Have you done some dry runs?" I'm like, "No, should I?" He's like, "Yeah, you should." He's like, "You should walk through your stuff that you have, know how to use it, show your kids how to use it, so that it's routine. If something ever did happen, and you're not freaking out. You're already prepared for it. It's just,
Yeah.
it's Tuesday. You know what I mean? So
It's smart. That's my family. My girls know if something goes down, they know exactly what to do. They know where to
Right.
grab what they need to grab. They know, Audrey's the littlest. She knows where to get to, that she's
Right.
out of the way and not in a line of fire, so to speak.
right,
Um,
that'd be a bad day. That'd be a really bad day.
it'd be
That
a
happened,
horrible
but-
thing. Horrible, but
Be a
we're-
worse day if you weren't ready.
you're right. And I got two big dogs, a boxer and a pitty and a pit boxer mix. You're going to have to get through a lot of stuff.
Right.
But, and having those dogs, I want
Right.
to kill them some days, but
Right.
that's part for me anyway of security and,
Yeah.
and being prepared.
But you and I talked about a little bit today about it's less about bugging out and taking a small backpack and running, and more about having your homestead set up to where that is your bug out location. You ain't going nowhere because you don't have to.
Well, even me in the subdivision, I don't plan on leaving unless there is no other option.
Correct.
That's where I'm at. That's my home. That's
Correct.
where my stuff is. That's where, right now I know best. But and there may be a time we have to
Right.
take off. But then we're talking about something totally.
I think
If you're bugging out, you need a place to bug out too. You need to just leaving to go somewhere random is not going to end well.
right, right.
You know,
Lack
there's
of
not
preparedness.
enough stuff that you can haul in your backpack or in your car
Right.
to keep you very long. And
Yeah.
sometimes, chemical spill. Yeah, you need to leave.
All right, we got some more comments. Mary
Okay.
says, she says, "LOL, thank you, Jonathan." Fred, man, I wish you lived in our area too. We'd have a lot of fun fishing and catching up.
Somebody talked about Criminal Minds. I saw that.
Is it Janet? I know what
Jeanette, that's my mom.
That's
Jeanette.
your
Oh, your
mom,
mom?
Jeanette.
Jeanette.
You got to shout out the mom.
There we go.
Hi,
See,
Mom. My dad.
he shouted out to his mom. Now it's your turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
My mom's not watching. I don't
Fish antibiotics.
think.
Yeah,
Oh
so-
yeah, for medical.
Yeah,
Right.
and medical stockpiles. You know, getting any prescription meds that you're on, getting some extras of those. That's a very good idea because, you know, even just routine stuff can get interrupted. Supplies may not come in. You know, I talked about shortages. There have been a number of people who had to substitute stuff that's similar, and you know, we could have a more serious interruption than that.
Right. So she said fish antibiotics.
Yeah.
And I get. Is there like certain ones, or like are there different? You know,
So-
like because to me when you say antibiotics, I'm like, okay, that's a pretty general term for, you know, what
Right.
brand, what actual medication, what's the dosage? Do you take twice as much because for fish?
That
know?
information
It's on
is
YouTube?
available online. Well, it's on
On
YouTube.
There you go.
But most of the fish, but it can be other
Okay.
antibiotics for other animals. They're basically the same thing. They often come off the same supply line. They just change the labeling because
come on.
they don't have to go through as much inspection, and they sell it for fish.
Okay.
But it's the same stuff. They'll
Okay.
package human, then they'll package fish. And
We're getting
Isn't
duped.
that something?
and it's way cheaper. You don't have to have a prescription.
Right.
You just need to have a little bit of knowledge of, you know, what antibiotics to use for what.
to
and-
Right.
use. A couple
Yeah.
comments. Christina says it's like Criminal Minds.
There we go.
I don't watch that. I hear Criminal Minds all the
Oh,
time.
we watch all the time.
I've never watched it.
I know.
The boy had a place to hide because Hodge told him before.
Oh yeah, there's an episode.
You know that?
Yep.
All right,
He
that
said if
episode.
anything ever happens, then this is the place that you go, and you don't come out until you hear my voice, type of thing.
Okay.
And yeah, and so like his, you know, the people he worked with, kind of had an idea of where that was also,
Okay.
and they came in and Hodge was all messed up, and they knew where to go
I got
to
you.
find him. So yeah, even the little boy understood, like, you know,
Yeah.
be prepared. Like here's a game plan.
Gotcha.
We had that at my house with intruders. Like my boys and I, we've talked about different code words that if I ever yell this code word in the middle of the night, you know, like each one of these means a certain thing. Gopher, you know, Gopher. Well, what's a gopher do? They dig deep, right? And so like find the lowest place you can, and you get on the ground and you go hide in the quickest place. Squirrel. Well, what do squirrels do? They run. And so I'm like, if I say squirrel, you run to my room, to your mommy,
Right.
you know, and you hide behind the bed. And even they know that, you know what I mean?
Right,
So
that's
their
basic
kids
stuff.
are smart, man. Kids are smart.
We got another comment. Fred says, calm, do not panic. Panic will cause stress and not thinking, and that will cause injury.
Yeah.
There you
Okay.
go.
And part of that is planning ahead of time, so you know, have an idea what you're going to do, and
Right.
you don't panic as much because you already know.
Cool.
Well, even if you think it, or everybody out there, you think for a second, you know, I got 2 months worth of food, I got water, I got medicine, you know, right there should bring that calmness.
Oh, sure.
You know, so take it from thinking about it to actually doing it.
Right.
And getting ready to go.
A lot of people think that prepping is driven by fear,
Fear.
but I think prepping really is a very calming. It takes fear away. Having supplies put back and having enough to know that, you know, I have that reaction time. I'm not going to be standing in line the next day to get
So your reason for prepping. Yeah.
it gives me.
Well, you
some-
can wait it
some
out
peace.
until
Right.
things hopefully calm down and little, you know, order maybe is restored, or the you know the storm gets past you,
Right.
or what have you. And then
As-
you can really focus on just your family.
As you said that, you know, I know it's a little out of context as far as perfect love casts out all fear. But at the same time, like as you said, I'm like, why are you prepping? Well, you're prepping because you love your family, and you're prepping because you love your community.
Yep.
And so if you're doing it out of love, then you're right. It'll cast out all fear.
So what else you got,
man?
Jeremiah?
What else you
We're
got?
on, not that it matters. We're about
Right.
40 minutes or so.
Okay.
but
Yeah, 40 minutes.
Make sure we
we
hit what
aim
you-
for 30 minutes, guys. We always do. But, you know.
Well, I
we,
think I have the most important prep actually.
Okay, where?
Which is spiritual prep.
Okay.
You know, whatever happens, we don't know if
Right.
a tornado is going to come through.
Right.
We don't know if the house is going to burn down or you're
Okay.
going to need that food. But all of us are going to die someday unless the Lord comes back. And
Absolutely.
then we go and we meet our Maker.
That's right.
And what we did spiritually is what is ultimately going to decide where we spend eternity.
Right.
And, fear not the one who can kill the body, but fear the one who can kill the,
Sure.
the spirit.
That's a great point, because no
Yeah.
matter all the prepping in the world, everybody still ends up dying.
Mhm.
You may get an extra 6 months or 6 years,
Sure.
but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
the number one thing that you're right, you want to build up is your faith.
Well, and I know that we have a lot of different people from different backgrounds, different beliefs. Some may say, I don't believe in God. Well, if you're watching us, you're going to hear a whole lot about him. And so
we all do.
We all do.
100%.
And it's not just believing in God, it's having a relationship with him. So if you have any questions, let us know. Let any three of us know. You know what I mean?
Prayer requests too. We all
Absolutely,
sometimes
prayer
I forget to
requests.
say that. Put it on here. We've had people before. We absolutely will read that, and
Okay.
we will pray if there's anything going on.
Very cool. Well, hey, before we get going, I've been looking at this thing next to me.
Right.
And to me, I'm like, is this a pogo stick? Is it a plunger? What is this thing? So not to go off the spiritual conversation, but I'm going to bring this
hand that thing over.
I'm going to bring this into view. And like I said, is it a pogo stick? Is it a...
This is
You
a
know.
prep that we have.
Okay.
This is used actually to do laundry, to wash clothes.
How?
If you don't have power, you can put them in a 5-gallon bucket with some water and soap,
Okay.
and then you plunge it up and down, and it has these holes. and
No
this
way.
Agitator.
Little thing, and it
Agitates,
moves
okay.
the water through the fabric
Okay.
and washes them, just like an agitator on a washing machine. So if you didn't have power, you can use it. Plus, you can wash multiple loads in the same water. That's
Okay.
one thing that they often do in third world countries, is you don't do a full set each time. Like, you don't wash
Okay.
one load and then rinse it and then rinse it and then rinse it.
Right.
You wash, you set those aside. You wash another batch, you set
Okay.
those aside. Saves a lot of water, saves a lot of soap.
I feel like there's some people looking at this going, yeah, it's Tuesday. I'm like, what is this thing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
super cool, man. Super cool.
There's all kinds of cool stuff out
Yeah.
there, and I'm seeing that more and learning more.
And then this is if you're camping or something.
Okay.
But also if the power goes out, this is a solar shower.
Okay.
So you don't have any water pressure in the house. You want to clean up, you can
Just fill the bag.
fill the bag, set it out in the sun, or you can put warm water in there, hang it up, and you can take a little shower. Showers take a lot less water than
Right.
baths do.
Okay.
I'll say
Wipes
this
is another alternative.
too, because you mentioned third world countries. If you really want to see some stuff and how to do it, go on a mission trip.
Oh, man.
Like I've gone to Haiti and you see this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And you challenge yourself to do that. It changes the way you think.
Right. I think we're getting the time clock over here from
Yeah, we're
the
pushing it.
boss,
We're
and,
up 38 minutes. 40
but you know
minutes.
what? But she's right. There's we literally could go
I'm
all
sorry,
night long.
but Christina said, you need that, man, to do the laundry.
Come on,
That's
man.
what she said.
You couldn't say this was a plunger?
She said, that's cool. Jonathan needs that.
Man.
That's funny.
There
It
are
just costs you money.
I know, man. There are times I'm like, I don't know how to use this thing, and now you just said, here. Just manually.
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy.
Your
Appreciate
washing
that.
machine broke. Here you
Appreciate
go.
that. We do have some other things on the table that we really haven't talked about. We talked about food prep earlier, but you never brought this out.
Yeah.
This is another
MRE, meal ready to eat.
right.
This isn't something I get a lot of. These last. They have a lot of calories. They're a little expensive for what you get, but
Right.
they are handy. Everything you need's here. You can just eat it cold. It's got a heater too if you want.
Right. I feel like we got a bunch of military guys going, yep,
Yeah.
eating my fair share of
So,
those.
For
Oh,
me,
sorry, guys.
it's always kind
I
of
moved.
fun
I
opening
moved
these
you.
up. It's kind of like a present every time. But I'm sure if you've spent, 2-3 months in a fire base, eating
Sure.
these 3
Sure.
meals a day, you
A
hate
little
these
different.
things.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure.
Pam Wagner said, great show. Thank you. Thanks for watching, Pam. We appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Pam.
That means a lot. Thank you for commenting
Absolutely.
as well.
So, any
anything
last
else?
comments?
Yeah, any
comments?
words?
Last things to leave us with?
The one thing, we've talked a lot about stockpiling. And probably the most important thing you can stockpile is skills and knowledge in your brain.
Knowledge. Somebody else said
Learn
earlier,
how to
knowledge
do
is power. Yep.
things.
Very cool.
Yeah, and get books that teach you how to do things.
Okay.
I hear, you know what? Don't make it stressful. Make it fun. Get your family involved and
Right.
get them, not in a scary way, especially for little kids,
Sure.
but just make it, make it fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool, man. Well, I think I'm out of words. Are you out of words?
I could probably talk for days, but
Yeah, we
Talk
can
for
go
days.
You know,
Okay.
we'll do a part 2.
We will, and you know what?
At some point.
We're going to not only do a part 2 with the Neil's Homestead, but we're going to go out to the Neil's Homestead, right? Mm-hmm. And we won't tell you where the location is, but we're going to go out there and we'll do a part 2.
Yeah.
And how about actually seeing some of this stuff in action? That'd be kind of cool.
That'd be fun.
Teach this city boy, some country ways. So
we'll catch you a
Make
fish.
sure, Miss
there we
Blake.
go. Yeah, we'll catch me a fish or something.
You're welcome, Blake, man. Thanks for jumping on, buddy.
Yeah,
God bless
thanks,
you, man.
Blake. So, all right, guys. Well,
That's it.
I think that's it for the night. Until next time, I'm Jonathan,
I'm Dale.
I'm Jeremiah.
and you're watching
Straight Up Guy Talk.
All right, God bless, guys.
God
Thanks
bless
for joining
you
us.
guys.